So welcome everyone, and apologies. I'm Shelley Darling and the founder of the Embodied Earth Institute and the School for Integrative Dowsing and Evolutionary Dowsing. So tonight you'll hear a little bit about it, and I'm going to check with you in a half hour at the top of the hour. And if people can stay on longer, that's great. But also I will honor. There has been a technical glitch tonight for people who will be getting the recording, and I had no idea that they were going to ask for a password, so that has really messed up myself and everybody else. So just one giant apology. And I will offer next Thursday night with a slightly different topic to come back in, and if you want to be able to have this experience and learn a little bit more about your dowsing energy toolbox. So here we go. All right. So I am excited to be here tonight. The work I've been doing since 2008. We have a couple of people are here that have been working with dowsing in this particular way as a whole system experiential model, and also some people here have been mentoring. So I'll introduce them in a little bit. But tonight, I wanted just to speak to and open up this space by just beginning with um, understanding that we're all coming in from our different experiences, our different days, our different holographic fields, what is meaningful to us and what matters. And um, and we're becoming more aware of the environment and of sacred sites, things that make us feel good. We love being on the land, right? We love going to the ocean, and those places that we choose to be in or take our children to make us feel really good. And what I discovered in 2008, that there was another aspect to all the work that I had been doing. I had been teaching heart mastery programs. I had been, you know, I've done my own work, my own somatic integration work. I had done Feng Shui, but it wasn't until dowsing came into my life that I realized something new. And that's really what tonight is really about, just opening that doorway and understanding. So just out of curiosity, and just take a moment, and then we're going to do what I usually invite is a heart resonance opening. But just how many people here are, just since it's a small group, just raise your hand. Like, how many people feel like they're living their fullest potential? Hmm. Okay, on a scale to 0 to 10, are we at a 5? Okay, we got pretty much a 5. Okay, that's great. And how many people here, not the people that have been um, involved with dowsing, but how many people here think if there's any part of that that might have to do with the house? That the way that we feel, the way that we, experience life might have to do with our homes. And really, that's what tonight is really all about, this sort of awakening to the things that you've been feeling actually might have 50, at least 50% have to do with the house, and maybe even more. And that's what I realized in 2008. Dowsing came out of left field. And and all of a sudden just literally changed my life to a point where my curiosity, and that's what I want to thank people, and because we're a small group, we'll have some interactive participatory experiences here. But that's where I began to realize that the things that I was feeling, the therapists that I was going to or the people that I was working with, um, that when I began to douse their houses, all of a sudden something changed, and it was just, I couldn't believe it. And so we'll be speaking a little bit about that tonight, and you'll have a chance to ask questions. And again, at the top of the hour, I'm going to just check in, and we'll just see if we want to go a little bit longer. So here we go. Oops, there we go. Some light. All right. So before we go into what is dowsing, I want to just take a minute, and from all the different places that we're coming from, to take a minute just to do an internal land acknowledgement. And a land acknowledgement is really taking a moment to, the beginning step is to really honor the land that you're on, the people that once walked there, and that we have a direct connection to the water that is running through our land. In fact, many people think dowsing is just about water divining, but tonight we're going to learn a little bit more that it's way more than that, and it's actually a transformational model that can literally change your life and your children's life, your family's life, your business life. And when dowsing is activated in your house, the house becomes a support for you to really live that fullest design. So let's just take a minute and just close our eyes. Welcome, Jean. I know it's one of those nights. I'm just going forward. So let's just take a minute and just closing your eyes if you feel comfortable. If you don't, that's fine. And just take a breath. Just finding your own rhythm. There's no coordinated breath here. Just noticing your breath, being aware of how you're feeling, and connecting to the earth. And as you're allowing your awareness to expand, you might have a sense of a river or your watershed. Maybe you don't know where your headwaters is, but just to get a sense of communing with this water that may be actually affecting your house positively, or maybe not. Maybe it's a non-beneficial energy. But paying attention and noticing your body just relaxing into the earth, to the ground, allowing a deeper sense of grounding. And as an example here, I'm living on the unceded territory of the Pequawket, Abenaki, Wabanaki people who once lived and thrived and hunted and fished in this area. And this home that I'm on is the Casco Bay watershed. Understanding that the watershed runs from the headwaters down to the sea for most watersheds, not all. And the idea is that just we are a living watershed, and just breathing our breath, breathing into that, we're breathing into that awareness of this whole system, complete ecosystem of love that we're maintaining and wanting to sustain. And our relationship with the earth has a lot to do with it. And then as we're breathing, just allowing our awareness to expand, and just, it's perfect. Just, I mean, everyone many people are focused on the space shuttle that's moving around the moon. So just becoming aware of the cosmos, the vast, some people, indigenous people call it the star nation, but allowing your awareness just to open a little bit, expand. You can imagine that there's a pyramid on top of your head, and at that apex is this just beautiful ball of light. I like to call this the joy point, this point where we feel open and safe enough to receive the information from our, what we call our intuition. Just feel that. Notice how your body feels when you just take that breath, and now that breath starts to expand a little bit more. And just bringing that back. So this connection with the earth, and then this connection with the quantum field. And ultimately, we are this fullness. We are that full. And then just bringing your attention back to your own heart. And simply giving a recognition, a gratitude for how you're showing up in your life. Honoring why you're even showing up here tonight. And lastly, just calling in all aspects of ourself. Some parts we like, some parts we love, some parts we don't like. But tonight, just inviting all parts to come home, right? This return to wholeness. Because dowsing has everything to do, at least this type of dowsing has everything to do with opening to receive what is needed for you to live your fullest expression. And then just very gently taking another breath and coming back into this room. And just reorienting yourself. So personally, again, thank you for being here. And we're just going to move forward with a smile and knowing that you guys were the right people for the space tonight. All right. So since it's a small group, let's just, if you can pass, but if you feel like you just want to share, like, what drew you here tonight? What's the interest, right? And then we'll go forward. So just pop in, just take yourself off mute. Make this really simple, and what's moving for you, and keeping it really concise, just a short answer for what is it that you're, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll come in first. This is Sharon from the French River. Let me start all over. This is Sharon from the French River Watershed in North Gravendale, Connecticut. And Shelley, I've known that you've done this for a while, but I know very little bit about it. And Miss Amani from the All Relations Fire was talking about dowsing this past week, and then your Zoom meeting came up. So I just, kind of like figured I'd check it out. So that's for me.
Great, thank you. Anybody else want to pop in?
Hi, Shelley. It's Isaac. I met you last week in Ipswich, and I was I, I was there with my wife and my daughter, and I missed part of your talk, so I want to come back and hear it all. And from Gloucester, Massachusetts.
Thank you, Isaac. Yes, good to see you. Isaac has a beautiful wife and beautiful daughter that came. Anybody else? Jean, I saw you wanted to pop in.
I wanted to, oh yeah, yeah. Sorry. Can you hear me?
Mhm.
Okay. I just love hearing you talk about it. I love your enthusiasm about it, and I wanted to get a more formal foundational understanding of the differences, especially where your work is so much faster than the work that I do on bodies.
Thank you. Anybody else? Excuse me, I'm going to shut off those lights behind me because I think it's probably hard. I don't know. It seems like for me, it's a big distraction. So John, go ahead. I'm just going to Go, Shelley.
Yeah. I'm here, well, for the mystery of it, and part of that mystery is who else is in the room. I am really intrigued by who uh, the, the moths that gather around your flame, and who all or butterflies or caterpillars, whatever we want to. And I also wanted to just say that in doing the land acknowledgement, I came across another part of the acknowledgement, and that is of those who will come later.
Mhm.
Not just those who've come before, but those who will come later. And that was really a big opening for me.
Thank you. Awesome. Anybody else?
Yeah, my wife had gone last week to your presentation, and she's like, "Yeah, you have to go check this out." She thought it was really awesome, and she was there with Isaac and his wife, and so like, all right, I'll definitely check it out. So it just happened to work out that I was able to see here and
Thank you.
connect. So yeah, I'm
Yeah,
looking forward to learning more.
thank you. Okay, great. Awesome. Anybody else?
Well, hey, Shelley. I wanted to pop in because I feel like it's like a grand opening and presentation of the Embodied Earth Institute. So exciting to participate in the next level.
Thank you, Joanne. All right, Wendy or Jenny, do you feel like popping in? Okay, there must be just listening. All right, that's fine. Okay, thank you, everyone. So, number one, what is dowsing? And what makes this type of dowsing different? We know about water dowsing. We know about it because it lasted through all the centuries because water dowsing was a practical tool to find pipes but also at that time, the emperors and different influential principal leaders knew also that dowsing was could create a lot of abundance for them. And that was kind of kept secret. And then, of course, we know in the 1200s that um, things had to go underground. People were being killed because of these skills. And maybe over the past 30, 40 years, it's just begun to come out. And so dowsing really is just simply the art and science of working with subtle energies and revealing those things that are unseen and how we can use our knowledge and our skill to restore balance and harmony and well-being in ourselves, in the places that we live, um, our business offices even, and our environments. And what I was saying was that in 2008, what I discovered was that where dowsing came out of left field, I had worked 25 years with a spiritual master. I had, done a lot of somatic integration. I even had some feng shui in my life. But when dowsing came in, I began to notice something different. And very quickly, I'll just tell this one story because I think it's a great story. So we were my husband and I at the time were teaching the mastery of the heart trainings, working with people with relationship, and we had an office manager. She was really great, but she would come in every day and she was very high anxiety, upset. It would take her a while to, sort of get herself together, even though she was a great manager. And I would sit with her and I would like do that little heart resonance thing with her and calm her down. She would be fine. And this would go on day after day. And after I learned how to douse, she was the first one that she came back into the office and I thought, let's find out what's going on with you when you come into the space. And I found these what are called geopathic lines hitting her chair. And so I didn't really know what I was doing, but I was just following the protocol, right? Which if you decide to come to the foundations, you'll learn. And I cleared these three particular energy lines. Um, and went into the kitchen. And a few minutes later, she came in running in and said, "What did you do?" And I said, "I don't know what's going on." She said, "My migraine. I come in here all the time. I have migraines, and it's gone." And I thought, okay, that's, wild. And she had me come to her house, and she was living in an apartment. And a lot of times in condos or apartments, they put the fuse boxes in the master bedroom, or they're in places in that space. And she had also what was called a negative vortex under her bed. So she wasn't sleeping very well, obviously. Um, and so we took care of that. And about 10 days, I don't know, maybe a week or 10 days later, she came to the office and said, "I'm quitting." I was just like, "What are you talking about?" Like, I just doubt, because to me, I just doused your house. I just did all this really good stuff. And she said, and this was amazing to me. She said, "Shelley, I've always had a dream of having my own business, and I've never been able to do that. I've been too afraid." She said, "I don't know what happened, but I am ready." And she did. She left. And that scenario began to happen in different ways, different situations with a lot of people and I started to notice my clients that were working on a lot of, emotional stuff. They started breaking through their stuff like that. And I'm like, what is going on here? And little by little, I began to realize how much what was going on, how these non-beneficial energies that come into our house. Because in Europe, they know, you'll see a water fountain in the middle of the community. They know not to build on geopathic stress lines. But here, and most everywhere, we just build houses where we want it, and we're not considering, even though they might be great contractors, maybe some of your contractors here, I don't know, and we just build houses, and we don't think about what is going on with the land that we're building these houses. Because ultimately what starts to happen is the house becomes a container for these noxious energies. um, so that's what I began to realize, and then eventually began to teach people. And what when Joanne said, this about the Embodied Earth Institute and the School of Integrative Dowsing, this is really new, because I began to think about, how do I take everything has been an effective tool, right? Because that's what we came here for tonight, right? Learning these subtle energetic patterns that are happening in our house, and tools to fix. So how could I take the feng shui and bring this into one umbrella? And really, that's what's happened, is you're coming in at a point where it's become really clear that I'll just start with feng shui and dowsing. How many people know about feng shui? Right? We all pretty much, I mean, 20 years ago, we didn't know about feng shui. Some people did, but not as a general understanding, right? And so feng shui, we're working with wind and water, and we're moving furniture and changing colors and shifting energies in a really positive, beautiful way. Um, but feng shui doesn't deal with these geopathic stress and these energies. There's another type of line, energy field, because they're not really lines, they're a field of energy that, when there was no computers and no Starlink and these things that are now, we're living with, satellite TV, all the stuff. It was a much more positive feel. Like when you go into a rural area or you go climbing a mountain, right? You feel invigorated, you feel alive, right? Well, these energies, when they hit a house, become non-beneficial. They actually become detrimental to our physical bodies. And so with feng shui, it's all great, but it's not dealing with that. So you might have the greatest relationship corner, and called a gua, in your home, but if you've got 3 or 4 geopathic stress lines, the way, how water's coming under your house, or how soil is affecting, different types of soil when they build a house, different types of soil, or maybe you live near where there's fracking. These things influence how the home begins to hold the energy. And so we end up with things where we're not feeling well, we don't sleep well. I can't think straight. Here's another example. We know about EMFs, right? Is there anyone here who doesn't know what an EMF? Okay, so just checking. So we know we don't want to live around those high tensor wires, right? Can cause all kinds of stuff. But the way those frequencies, because they are frequencies, enter a house, they enter through sockets or windows or sometimes even chimneys. And as an example, the way EMFs affect us is really our cognitive mind, where other energies affect our nervous system. And it's really powerful to begin to understand what is affecting us. Because otherwise, I'm backing up on myself. And that's what I just started to discover with a lot of my clients. What's wrong with me? I'm going to this doctor, I'm going to this therapist, I'm going to, we do all these things to help ourselves. Or our wife is freaking out and we're telling her to go. But what if, okay, here's a perfect example. Last night this happened. Sorry to say this, but I got a tick. So I had to run to a friend's house. Actually, so I ran to this woman's house, and she was showing me around her house, and she takes me down to the basement, and I take a look and I'm like, oh my God, the fuse box and probably like 25 big wires are running on the ceiling from the fuse box. And I'm like going, how do you sleep? How's your sleep? Just kind of lightly. I'm not going to go into a whole dowsing thing with her. And she says, well, I don't. I'm like, of course you don't. These things affect us. So so when you take, so the Feng Shui, which is totally incredible, and you marry it to the dowsing, I've always called it, a portal to heaven, right? Because you're beginning to meet some of these energies and match them together. And then you bring in the land. We know some people are we've heard of this now, land whisperers, or even so house whisperers. I guess you could call us house whisperers, because we begin to understand that, isn't it interesting? Let's just say I have a child, and in one house, this child is incredible and joyful and bubbly, and all of a sudden we move to another house, and that child is more challenged, or maybe they're not doing so well in school, and we're looking at everything except for the environment that that child is in, or us per se, right? So these are the things that, so when we're talking about subtle energies, what's really amazing is that people start to go like, oh my God, no wonder why I don't want to go in that room. Isn't it interesting that I put all my altar and all my crystals, and you've actually found where the negative vortex is, but you don't realize it. Yes, it's helping a little bit, but it's not taking care of what's causing it. So how do we, experience in our lives a sense of well-being and balance and joy when we're being bombarded by these different frequencies? And the somatic integration piece is something that takes a little more teaching, because it's understanding how we do what we do, how we run our beliefs, what's the root cause of our belief system. Because if you were to have your house doused, I would, I or Joanne, and eventually John Brown, soon, actually he could right now. John's in the mentorship program, and Joanne is a phenomenal dowser. And so when the house gets opened, one of the things that's really important is to get your intention really clear. What is what is how much is the universe receiving what you're really wanting? And also, it's really important to get that information really, really clear. So part of the work of this type of dowsing, you know, is to get a broader sense of how to um, support another person or support a couple or support a family in what they're wanting, because a lot of times, and I said this the other night, so a lot of times couples will think they're on the same page, married partners, significant others, but when you're standing outside that house and when you've opened the house, there's an invocation, a way to open the house, and when you've done that land acknowledgement, you're calling in the your guides, because everyone can douse. Everyone has an ability to um, be a transceiver. I like that word because you're a transmitter, you're emitting energy, and you're receiving it. So this allows you to start really feeling that you're grounded and you're connected to, I don't care if you call it God or universal source, light, intelligence, but there is an intelligence. And I guess that's what I'm here to say tonight, is there is an intelligence. So the first dowsing tool, guess is what? Can anyone guess what the first dowsing tool is really? Yes, it's yourself. Thank you, Jean. Right? So how do we get to feel more confident with the information that's coming in? Because all the rest of it is just skill. What are you looking for, right? So there's lots of different tools that we can raise the frequency of our house, but we want to get the house so that and you can feel the difference, because if you just think about it. Think about it, a time when you walk down a road and there was a house, maybe on your street even, where you knew that people lived there, but maybe the windows, the shades were pulled down and you didn't really see them that much. Or maybe it was pretty obvious nobody's living in that house and it's kind of ramshackled, and maybe you're even thinking that there are ghosts there or whatever. That's called a beta house. And in that house, literally, for whatever's going on there, people can't access their higher consciousness. It's a house that no matter how much therapy that you're going to, there's a sense of, or maybe you've walked into somebody's house, a friend's house, or your mother-in-law's house, I don't know, and you can actually sense what it feels like. Your body contracts. You want to get out of there. So oh my God, all of a sudden the wing just started going. So so these are some of the things that we're wanting to take a look at. And what makes us smart is trusting ourselves. How do we trust what we're feeling? Because you might already have a sense something's not right. And I can yeah, I think I'm going to leave it like that. So at this point, let's just open it up for questions for anyone who's, whatever you're thinking about. Yeah, feel free to ask a question. Let's just see where we just do a little checking, because I've been spurting out a lot of information. Um, and I do want to show you some tools, because I promised that. Anything bubbling for anyone or any questions? And you can, personal questions you might want to ask later I do free consultations, but yeah. Is there anything that's popping for anyone? Yeah, Isaac?
So Shelley, yeah, I have a question about those. Is it geopathic energy lines or breaks, or what causes those?
Great question. So I named some of them. So geopathic just means earth illness. Some people will say sick houses. And it's caused, so when a geopathic stress line runs outside of the house, it's positive. You know how people go to, I always forget what it's called. John, what's it called? The walk where people walk in Spain? The Camino, excuse me, got it. Okay. So in Europe, there's the Camino, and people actually have mystical experiences walking that line. That is a geopathic stress line that's healthy, that's vibrant, and you can access. People have mystical experiences. You don't need. The Romans knew they didn't need as much water, so they're just natural. Uh, they're it's in relationship to the electromagnetic field of the earth and how that hits water. But also you can get, but when that hits a house, how water is running under our house can cause noxious fumes to come up because the house, it's not free to move. Um, Also, like I said, two different soils will cause that. When contractors are, building houses, that can cause a problem. Any kind of rupture of the earth will cause trouble with geopathic stress. Mining, like I said, mining is a big problem. Even, sometimes where the tectonic plates are, that can cause the way that comes up. So the issue is, again, how that affects our body. And I'm going to say this, and I said it the other night and I guess I'm getting braver about saying this on an introductory, but this, this can cause cancer. Geopathic stress lines can cause cancer. It can cause, if you're really, really ill, it can be very difficult to get better. Did that answer your question? In terms,
Yes. Yeah.
sorry.
And so the issue is you have stress lines and then you put, say, a house on top of it. It doesn't allow that whatever needs to come out naturally because you're kind of encasing it into a container,
Right. Yep. It gets stuck in the
sort
container.
of.
Yep. Mhm. Yeah. And of course
All
we
right.
go into this way
Thank you.
deeper in the foundations course, we go into it. It might, and there's also things called black streams, and they're called black streams. Um, so yeah, you know, yeah, I think I'm going to leave it there for tonight. But anybody else have any more questions around that? Yeah, go ahead, Lynn.
Oh, not around that,
Okay.
but you've spoken about soil and water. I'm in New Hampshire,
Mm,
which is the granite state. So we have granite all around us, underneath us, all around us, and not just that, but from the granite you get radon. So you have the rock and the gases from the rock. How does that fit into to what
right.
you're talking, or does it fit into what you're talking
So,
about?
so radon is its own entity that has to be dealt with. Radon, and I think that's a really good question. So I will not say that I know everything, and so if there's something that I don't know, that I will definitely go look up. Joanne, so anyway, I grew up in New Hampshire a lot. Joanne, do you want to say anything about the radon? Do you have anything
Hmm.
in terms of your dowsing?
I'm not real familiar with doing corrections, making,
Okay,
remediating
radon.
um, radon, but I understand there are ways to work with it. I'm just not
Okay,
experienced in it. It is a whole entity unto its
yeah,
own,
radon.
different from geopathic stress. It's a different entity.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. So that needs to be dealt with, and you need radon meters. It's a very different, it's not electromagnetic. It doesn't have to do with the field. It has to do with the actual stone itself. At the
Mm-hmm.
same time, I just want to say that the beauty of granite is that it's paramagnetic rock. And so it's a very positive, um, you can use granite to really support a high vibrational environment. But I will try to look that up and see if there's any more that I can discover about radon and get back to you.
Okay, thank you.
Feel free to check back in. Anybody else? Any questions bubbling? All right. So let me
Yeah,
just,
Shelley,
yep, go ahead.
if you get a minute, I just had one more question
Yeah, go ahead.
about how does that impact the earth? You had mentioned fracking.
Yeah, I mean, fracking, obviously they're drilling into the earth. They're drilling in, they're affecting the water table. They're drawing the water up and out. Again, it creates a noxious gas. And anyone, if you can go research in Boulder, Colorado, the towns, the people that have been living, Pennsylvania, another one, really bad, extreme problems with the water, never mind the fire that's coming up through their pipes and stuff. But just to live around that, people are getting very, very sick. Yeah, good
I got a
question.
question. So the the geopathic stress that you're talking about, this is on an energetic level. It's not physical per se, like radon gas. These are all energetic.
Um, the effect is energetic, but I mean, with geopathic stress, yes, I would say that it's energetic. But it's scientifically, it's scientifically proven. There is, um, geopathic stress can be measured, you know, but yes, it is energetic.
Okay. Are you familiar with biogeometry at all?
Yeah, you know what? It is something that I've wanted to study. I've been talking to a biogeometrist, someone who's been studying it, and it's really interesting because in the consortium that's been running since 2015, there hasn't been anyone yet who's come in with that knowledge. So I'm looking to work with people and learn more. I haven't. I am familiar with it, but I don't actually know that the tools that they're using. That's something that I definitely this year would like to incorporate and have people who are experts with that to come in to um, really support a presentation and learn. Yeah.
All right, cool.
Are
Yeah.
you, are
Yeah.
you,
I use biogeometry. I'm not a practitioner, but I use it like I've got a home kit. I use it for my own personal protection.
awesome.
Um, yeah, that's what I was wondering. So I'm guessing you might get into it as far as your, I guess it would be remediating or clearing energy. Are you using physical tools? Are you using intention, a combination of the two?
Good question. Okay. So, yes, you're always using intention and, um, obviously, like first, for me, I'm using dowsing rods because I find working with larger pieces of land or also using them to measure energy, right? Sorry, I'm going to get stuck in here. So speaking of tools, this is a pyramid that just came here and it's pretty
Nice.
amazing. Creates a coherent field of energy. So I'm using the dowsing rods, or we're using the dowsing rods to measure people's energies
Mhm.
within their house, to find out, what's the frequency or the magnification um, a negative vortex, or, you know, whatever we're looking for. Also, where is that source coming from? And yeah, we'll have to talk more about that because I would love to know more. Also, so that's the first tool that I'm using. You know, ultimately, do you need to use tools? Not necessarily. I mean, people do things. But what I find with my clients, and as soon as they see the dowsing rods move, you know, if anyone's skeptical, they lose that skepticism pretty quickly, and then the curiosity then takes over. But I mean, there's all kinds of so there's a guy named, you know, you might know, there's a guy named Slim Sperling, um, who was really the initiator of these copper, I like to call them portable copper uh, vortexes, positive vortexes, because in a second they create a positive field and they can really negate any kind of negative vortex or fields that are coming in. They also put on a, like example, put on a smart meter. They will not only create a positive field, but that it actually sends the field right through the electrical car, sends a current right back through um, the the wires, and you can actually feel the difference, and you can measure, it's measurable. So these are just some of the tools. So these are all based on sacred geometry and Egyptian cubits. Some people like them, some people don't. Most people that I know really enjoy these. Also, because they create a field of light moving in both directions, and there's all different types of these. I can also use them for working somatically with people. Believe it or not, it's one of the most amazing things to have people stand around a ring and release a lot of what they're holding and what that feels like. Or they can be the larger ones you can run over your body. So these are a great simple tool that people love and can be used to remediate. This is, you know, these are just some. This is a Janessa sphere. Oh, sorry, this is an old one. So this is a Janessa sphere that is used for environmental works in larger, like you could put this in your house or in your office. And what I can't show here right now is that when you put a crystal in these, and that the field just goes, expands widely. So these are just some of the simple tools. There's lots of, I work with someone else who is he's a physicist, and he creates, he's the only person I know. So I don't know about biogeometry and Feng Shui, but that is the real key to the work that I want to bring forth, is helping people to see the power of that, and what that does, you know, within our own personal lives and in the environment. But Werner is the only person I've ever met who combines the dowsing with Feng Shui, and that's something that I feel is vital for people to understand. So I don't know where the biogeometry fits into that. So it would be great to have a conversation with you, or in fact, I'll just put it out that it would be great to do a dowsing with someone who's doing biogeometry, and see what we can learn from each other. You know, where one works and the other one might, you know, how it works. I mean, to me, biogeometry is, I mean, this is, you know, dowsing. Biogeometry is geomancy, you know. Yeah. So, and one of the reasons that I created the consortium was that together we're greater than the sum of our parts. So when you bring someone like, you know, maybe you're not a practitioner of it, you're doing it for yourself, but when you bring, you know, Joanne, who has a lot of wise woman skills around using around the body, and then there's someone else who works with crystals, and then you've got your person who's got biogeometry, and you bring us together in what I like to describe as a 12 around one sacred geometry, and you have a developing skill of how to work in resonance together, how to get, it's like being in a boat, it would be a great example. How do you get that boat to go forward? How do you get everyone rowing? We see the ancient canoes and they're all rowing in the same way, but we each come in with our various skills and how to work with each other in a coherent fashion so that when we take all of our skills and we start sharing it, it becomes amplified in a way that nobody is used to, because your toolbox all of a sudden expands, and the result on a project such as we've been working on schools, or now we're working on 86 acres in Florida, it becomes this vibrant field of wisdom, skill, and information that allows for a third, I don't know how to explain it, but by paying attention to and aligning with that intelligence of the universe, all of a sudden things start to change very, very rapidly. So together we're greater than the sum of our parts, and not even that, we're exponentially greater. So that's in the future for people that are interested. That's one of the things that I'd love to do. But coming back to, I want to just check in because it's 8:12 and we were supposed to end like 10, 15, 12 minutes ago. And I want to honor that. Do you guys want to stay on a little longer, or who needs to go right now? And I want to honor that. John, okay. And bye, Joanne. Okay, so why don't we do this? Let's just hold on a minute. Let's just take a breath here. And I want to honor that, honor the time, and I can stay on longer for those that have questions and want to know a little bit more. But what I do want to say is I have set it up for to do monthly wisdom, a monthly wisdom series. So going deeper and deeper into different aspects of the dowsing, and just decided that I'm just starting it up in a different way. And so for $9, you can come. Not next week. I'm going to open this up again for people who couldn't get on, and hopefully some people who couldn't get on can ask questions and learn more. But so I want to just let people know about that, and I'll just put that in the chat. You can find out more about that. And also, if people are wanting to know more about, well, wow, I'm interested in taking that foundation course, that maybe you don't know that you want to be a certified dowser, evolutionary dowser, but you want to come, and that first course is focused on teaching you how to douse your own house, the protocol that you would learn, and we will focus at that. It's going to be in Ipswich, and we will be dousing the Ipswich house, but you will learn how to take that and go to do your own house and discover some of the things that might be going on in your life. For those who are interested in a certification and really be able to do this for other people, you can come talk to me. But I'm going to just put this in the chat just for you guys, so you can just grab it before you leave, just in case you don't come back. Oops, hold on. Where's the chat? Excuse me. Chat. Okay, there we go. Oops, everyone. Sorry. Okay, so that's the wisdom series, and I'm going to grab you the other. Okay, hold on 1 second. And this is the link for the foundation course. And so anyone, please, you can go to the website and sign in. If you do that, you'll receive the upcoming information. And also feel free, if you have personal questions about your own circumstance, you can have a discovery session, and we can go in deeper about that. Okay, so those will take you to, oops, Joanne's. Okay, I think that's it. Let's make sure I've given you everything that you might need. Okay, so you can get to the website by putting in the Embodied Earth Institute now, or if you have the Evolutionary Dowsing one, that's fine too, or even my name, you'll get to it. So just want to check in, and let's just take a moment and with gratitude just for the information that has moved through here that might be inspiring you, just taking a moment, thanking yourself for showing up. I'm really grateful that you're curious and want to know more, and I'm happy to share that. And the questions that I can't answer right away, I'll be happy to take a little bit of time and do a little bit of research. So feel free to tap me on the shoulder and say, hey, what about that? So yeah. Great. Well, thank you for coming here. And for those who need to go, please, I'll see you again. Thank you for coming tonight. And again, sorry about the glitch of the technology. And I will send out an email to everyone. You have a cute little husband behind you, Joanne, looking in the door. Trying to get you. Love you. Thank you so much. And I can
Thank
stay
you.
on for a few more minutes and hope that this has been enough to kind of get you inspired and curious and, maybe want to douse your own house. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Lynn. Anyone have any more questions? Jean, we can close it out if everyone is ready to go. We're good? All right. Good night. See you later.
Just said one question.
Yeah.
Oh.
No, it's okay.
So when you do the you douse a house land, how long does it last for, or do you like how does that work?
How does it, if I come to douse a house, how does that work?
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm having, I don't know if it's my, no, I think it might be your internet. So,
might be
can you hear me okay?
yeah.
Okay, that's better. It looks like it's coming in better.
Yeah.
So, so if I'm coming, like if myself or any one of the dowsing specialists come to your house, usually, the way that it kind of unfolds is I will send you a proposal and a pre-dowsing form, which supports getting that intention really clear, moving the energy, and just kind of loosening some of that stuff that you might not be aware of. And and then when coming to the house, we we start outside. And like I said, open the house. So this is maybe where it's a little bit different than biogeometry, because what I'm interested in is not just clearing the house. Yes, I can go in, I could go to Isaac's house and go boom, 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 and douse it and leave, period. But that's not my interest. My interest is in working with the people to create a transformation in them. And that's really for me, really the empowerment of this type of dowsing. So, we start outside and we do a land acknowledgement. Um, we will we'll open up I call it opening the house. We do an invocation. We Once it's really quite amazing. Once you do the land acknowledgement and you open up the house, all of a sudden you can start to feel the house. The house starts to oddly reveal itself. And then the most important thing is to stand outside that house and get that intention really clear. And that's my job. And that's what I'm teaching people is how do most people would get that from doing some kind of embodiment trainings or something. But how is it that, so somebody spiritual might say, oh, my intention is just to have abundance and prosperity and I just want flow. And well, all that's really great, but is interesting that you're in debt for $30,000 and money is not coming to you, and or maybe you're sick and you're not talking about that. So it's important to learn how to listen, and then for me to support the clarity of getting what is the underlying truth. So what's at the bottom of what you're really wanting. And I'll give you one more example, which would be there was a piece of land, a doula, a woman who owned this land, had Airbnbs, she had taught doula training, she just had built this amazing building, she has animals, I mean, really incredible land, beautiful. And she came and told me what her intention was. And it was interesting enough, it was very cloudy when we were out there. It was looking like it was going to rain, raining a little bit. And she was telling me her intention, and something kept eating at me, like, what is this? And I just kept listening and breathing, and then something just clicked in, and I said, what about, you know, what about this? You know, is it okay if I say something? Is it okay if I tell you what's coming to me? And in a minute, she started burst out in tears. And the truth was, underlyingly, was that she didn't want to sell the place. She loved it. Her home was there. But she had worked this land for so long. She wanted out. She wanted, and so the intention completely shifted in that moment. And just miraculously, as things happened, the sun came bursting out. She was so happy. So this is about, so the type of dowsing that I'm doing or inviting people is to find your joy. What's really underneath there, right? What is it that you really, where is it maybe in your body? And sometimes with couples, it takes a little bit longer because you get both of you, right? But sometimes it just, but when you hit it, everybody knows. It's such an amazing sense. And then once we get that, then then even though I'm doing dowsing, I'm going to share some feng shui nuggets because how the energy is running to your house. So you might tell me, well, there's the front door, but we never use it. Like in Maine, hardly anyone even has a walkway to the front door, right? So that's okay, but the chi, that vital force, is actually trying to come to the front door. And what is it that is impeding that energy? So we take a look at some of the things that might, is there a tree branch? When you're standing back at the street, can you see the door? What's going on with the walkway? And supporting. So what my intention is to give you everything I've ever learned to this point and to feed you and all of a sudden you start going like, oh no, and things start awakening in you, right? So this is an awakening process. This is how I use the dowsing, which I've never really quite said before, but this is an awakening process. And so by the time you get to the front, we walk it, get a scent. Where's that energy going? Oh, isn't that interesting? It's hitting the garage door, right? Or maybe there's steps and down, it's really relevant to understand, because essentially, if you do a job for someone, you don't want them getting lost bringing you the check. You don't want that money stalled. You want to have, like, when you do a job for someone and they hand you that, $15,000 check, it's like, wow, thank you. And that gratitude, it's like that infinity loop, right? It's uplifting. You feel received. You've done the job. The money comes directly to you. And so that's really part of that opening. So, and then we go in and I do the assessment. And this can be done remotely. It doesn't have to be done this way. It's definitely a plus to be able to be there locally, but it can be totally, and in the foundations training, I'm teaching people how to do it remotely, right? So we're deepening our intuition and trust, and then the feedback that comes back. So ultimately, again, this type of dowsing involves, yes, the curing. You have to cure. So I'm using anything from copper rods to crystals to, I'm sure, like biogeometry has their own tools. There are various tools that, depending on the circumstance, you want to do. But isn't it interesting when I discovered, at one point I was using copper rods to stop the rods will stop the geopathic stress from coming into the house. And, but I discovered that by a certain process of programming certain crystals in a certain way and putting a Merkaba outside the house, so not just a Star of David, but it's a field of energy. It creates a field that it stops the geopathic stress. Crazy, but it does. Maybe not all. Maybe there's one energy, but and all of a sudden, what I started to discover was that people who are living in what I call a beta house, a house that feels very contracted, very closed. People are sick. People can't, they're pretty troubled. When you clear the sorry, that hand thing is like what? Anyway, when you clear the negative vortexes and you clear the geopathic stress, all of a sudden people can access, they start telling you things that they wouldn't ordinarily tell you. There's a freedom in the field. They start being able to access their consciousness in a much clearer way. And of course, there's still more to clear, because there is, and Ron, it'd be great to have a conversation. I'd love that. So, but anyway, so that's what's involved in the dowsing. So the dowsing, is, it's in layers, but for me, my experience is I usually tell people to leave 4 hours. And if someone's sick in the house, I will not douse it all at once. Like, you don't want to put someone into a detox. You want it to be gradual for their bodies. So that's, there's certain things that you want to look at. But basically, and then we keep an eye on it. We see what's happening, different things happen. And the pre-dowsing form is there very, very rarely, but it's really there for the client, because it's not every once in a while. Actually, this happened with the person who made this. It's like your body tends to start raising its frequency to match the energy of the house, and then you kind of forget what was happening a year ago, and some people go like, hey, I don't think that dowsing ever worked. This is very, very rare, but it's enough that, and you go, well, what about that neighbor that was really causing you a lot of problems? And then all of a sudden they'll go like, oh my God, wait a minute. Oh my God, you're right. They moved like 10 days after you douse. Like, this kind of thing does happen, because what happens with our neighbors, or in our environmental field, is that once the house starts to have, this is my experience anyway, once the house starts to hold that frequency, then people in the house, and this goes for relationships, so I'm not going to go into that right now. If people aren't ready to open their heart more, or raise their frequency, or do the work, they'll end up leaving, or if you live in condos and you've got neighbors, they'll either turn around and they'll start doing wonderful things for you, or all of a sudden, that won't be happening. But it's real. It does happen, because anything other than love, this is my experience, anything other than that love will dissolve, or raise the frequency. So it's a beautiful process, and I think that's probably more than you asked for.
No, that's perfect. Thank you. Yeah, that's so fascinating, and yeah, it's
Yeah.
great. Thanks.
Yeah, and you're the water guy, so there's a lot more to say about
Yeah.
the water. But any last question? Anything for you?
Well, it sounds like you're working with the people who are in the house is just almost just as much as important in your process for what you do.
Yeah. And I think that's part of my background, is that, and also for myself, like, I want to be living in a field where there's seamless grace and the money's flowing, and, the things that we're wanting as human beings. Yeah. And I think it was just we each have the journey of how we get where we are, right? And I think what really turned, where it all came clear for me, was understanding whole systems, understanding that we are living whole systems, and so that we need the whole systems to be coordinated and working. And for some reason, when the land piece for me was the last sort of thing, because I had spent a lot of time doing inner work and teaching people and clients and whatever. And then the Feng Shui came out of complete left field. I had my own experience of, someone coming into my house, and they were there for just wanting to introduce a product, and I was really sick, and they said, I've got my dowsing rods, take me to your bedroom. I'm not going to douse your whole house. Right. And and she took her dowsing rods, and I had no idea, never even heard of the word dowsing, and did this thing and had me lay on the bed and said, and points to where these three lines are crossing and exactly where I was sick, which I hadn't told her was what was going on with me. I had a really bad, bladder infection. And the next day after she did what she did, and I was like totally better. And then of course I went and we get curious and learned what they were doing. And that was it for me because I saw the importance of, I had firsthand experience of how everyone was doing all this spiritual, emotional body work. But you know, without understanding how much we're being affected by our homes. So, and that if you're at least do the biogeometry, but for me, it became, that's just somehow my mission is to really help people experience and I think the integration of these systems that when they start working together, it's just like, we can look at, outside of ourselves when a dam goes into a river, or when we do certain things that system is blocked, so it's, when we start realizing what that's going on for us. So yeah, so it's joyful and it's fun and I've seen it enough of it that it makes such a huge difference.
I had two last questions for you. First one is like, what do you do for a house that doesn't have a front door? Can you energetically like create a front door?
Okay, so every house has a door. They're
A
getting in
front
somehow.
door, a side
Right,
door.
right,
There's no front door. There's a
right.
side
So
door.
sometimes it depends. You have to kind of, every house is very unique, but
Yeah.
sometimes, so that might be your front door is your side door.
Hmm.
It might be that someone rebuilt the house and made that the front door. So as an example, I was recently living in a house that the front door was not being used and they had totally made the side door the front door. And
Hmm.
so we look at that from a Feng Shui perspective and use that as the front door.
Gotcha.
Unless there's something that gets shown. So again, unless something gets shown that there's
Mm.
maybe there was an original door and that house is not, we get a lot of things. That house is not happy not having its front door. So we got to do some little
Yeah, no, this house
work.
was an old Sears craft kit, and there's no front door.
Right.
The main door goes right into the kitchen off the side
Yeah,
of the
so then
house.
we just use that as a front door.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And the second question I have is, had you ever heard of FLFE before? I
FLF.
think it's focused life force energy.
No.
Look into it. It's these guys that came up with a way of working with consciousness to help raise the consciousness on properties. Um, so, but the whole idea is to raise the consciousness. So, I mean, essentially, that's kind of like
Absolutely.
you know,
Yeah, absolutely. So that's the thing. It's like, I mean, look, indigenous people didn't have dowsing rods,
yeah.
and they were
Hmm.
working with land, so do you need it? No, but for me, mainstream people, and I love ending up talking to, not, it doesn't have to, people have to be like, obviously you and Isaac, but where, they need the tools to give them the sense that they're watching something change, they're watching something shift. So that's just
Hmm.
how it is for me. And but no, it's true. Like if you get somewhere and you don't have those tools, what are you going to do? You're going to do, like speak to the energy, speak to the elementals, like do what you can do. These are hands of light. What are dowsing rods? Dowsing rods are only you know, as good as what's coming through our our hands, really our hands of light. So no,
Hmm.
we don't. And there's a lot of people that teach deviceless dowsing. So yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
sure. All right, cool.
All right.
Oh,
Well,
this is great. Yeah, thank you.
yeah, thank you. And definitely stay in touch. And I will add you to the email list. And I will do something a little bit different next week. I am going to invite people back. I feel that, I don't know what to do about. I have to think about the Eventbrite. I think maybe it was Meyer, and I didn't catch that I needed to take off the password. Um, So I'll have to just kind of look at that. But thank you for being persistent and coming on, and say hello to your beautiful significant others. And I will hopefully see you again soon. Thank
Sounds
you
good.
very
Thank
much.
you.
Nice to
Take
meet you.
care.
Okay, bye.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
See ya.
Bye.
See ya, Isaac.